Jen Glantz, welcome back to Seeing Other People.
Thank you so much for having me.
It has been 4 years.
No way. You're lying.
4
How
years.
is that possible?
2021.
I don't even believe that. I feel like I don't even understand time anymore, but that's wild.
I know.
That is so crazy.
And it has been so cool to watch your journey, watch your marriage, watch your now motherhood.
Oh my God.
Your I can't speak, your business, like watch everything just like unfold in such a beautiful way. I'm so happy for you, and I feel like honored to have gotten to witness it all these years.
I can't believe all that happened in 4 years, because when I look back, I'm like, nothing really changed. I'm still the same person.
Yeah.
But like when you say it like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I had major life changes. But that's how it works in our brains. We don't always process it as we're living it.
Right, exactly. Okay, so you are the host of 1-800-Bridesmaid.
Yes.
You have the company Bridesmaid for Hire, and you have an amazing love story.
God, the love story is probably the most interesting part, because like you, I feel like in my 20s, I went on thousands of dates. I met nobody. I was convinced that I was going to be single forever. Like I was one of those girls that was like, you're just going to live alone in Murray Hill and you're going to have a roommate till you're 80 and that's
Where in
it.
Murray Hill did you live?
31st and 3rd.
Okay,
Windsor
you were
Tower.
Really, oh my God.
Yes.
I was 28th and 2nd.
Oh man, we probably like passed each other a lot back in those
100%.
days. But I just was like, you know what? It's not going to happen for me. I could never get past a second date, like ever. And I think it was because I was scared of being myself. I was so nervous. So I'm working as a bridesmaid for hire, and one of my clients says to me that she met her husband because she went on like 30 dates in a month. She had an Excel spreadsheet. She would like write comments about these people, and she was like, it's a numbers game. And I was like, okay, I'm a competitive person. I'm willing to try anything once. I was like, let's do the numbers game. So I had just kind of broken up with this guy that I was in love with. I met him on Facebook.
Oh my God.
And he was like, I'm moving to Thailand. I'm like, I'm moving with you. And he was like, I didn't invite you. I'm like, okay, Jen, like you need help. I end that situationship and I say, okay, I'm going to go on 14 first dates in a month. I went on Hinge. I said yes to every single guy that matched with me. And I would go on these dates. Usually they were coffee. I met nobody that I probably ever wanted to see again. And I went to delete Hinge. I was like, okay, we're going to just live this single girl life. It's fine. As I delete Hinge, there's one more message that's expiring. And he's like, hey, you haven't answered me, but I would really like to meet you for coffee. And I was like, fine, what's date 15? Like, let's do it. And I walk into the coffee shop and I meet my husband.
And you got married there.
I got married there. Like, it's crazy because I don't know if it's all a numbers game. I don't know. But it worked.
I think part of it may have been the mindset of like, well, at this point, I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And so with that, you're not trying to prove anything to yourself. And you're just like, you probably went into that date more yourself. Because you were like, oh, what's another date? Like, I'll just go.
And I had no like issues just being weird and being like very forward, because I was like, I don't really care anymore about putting on this persona. And also, I didn't look at their profiles. So I didn't know these people beforehand. If I had looked at my husband's profile, we never would have gone on the date because his pictures were horrible. He wrote that he likes seltzer and bagels, which like, I'm a very poetic person. Like that wouldn't have done it for me.
Right.
Like that was just not enough. So I really think if I would have judged him based on the profile, there would never have been a first date.
Wow. What was that first date like?
So we get there, we're drinking our coffees, and I remember like 15 minutes in, I'm like, okay, Jen, like sit up straighter. Like there's something here. Like don't be too weird. But we talked for like 2 hours, and the best part of the date was he had researched me before. So he had known who I was, what I did. And I kind of liked that because he came into the date and he was super impressed that I was an entrepreneur, and he knew I loved pizza. So at the end of the first date, he said to me, I would love to see you again, and I'd love to take you for pizza. And I thought to myself, like, this guy is so prepared. I feel like after a first date, you're always wondering, like, what's going to happen?
See them? Yeah.
And he made plans.
There is something to that. The quote, I would love to see you again. Because that's what Jake said to me.
Really?
And it immediately stripped my anxiety away. And I didn't have the chance to like spiral and self-sabotage.
No. And I love that because like this is so
Sparkly's
cute.
on his back, just like, rub my belly.
I feel like we're used to playing all these games, like don't text for 6 hours and don't be desperate and you can't say this. And I wasn't about that back then because I was like, I just don't care anymore. So when he said that to me, I was like, this is a person who doesn't play games. And as we started dating, I was still playing some of these games with him, but he was very much a person that was like, I don't play any of this stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. Like he didn't have a huge dating history, which was to my advantage because he didn't really understand these like cues.
He was just being himself.
He's being himself and he was like, I like you and I'm going to be forward about it.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. And that was just very different for me.
Whenever I talk to singles who maybe they just got divorced or had a broken engagement or they just for whatever reason don't have much dating experience, I'm like, that is such an advantage because you're not jaded. You're not exhausted by all of these dating rules and practices that everyone has been like victim to.
Yes.
And you can just go into it looking to meet people and make connections. And that's what it should be about. But we all get so sidetracked with all the noise.
And also, like, he had no baggage. I had a lot of dating baggage. I was about to move to Thailand for a guy I met on Facebook. Like, I had baggage. And during our, like, first few months, I had to really, this was really hard for me, but I had to tell him, like, hey, here's, like, kind of the things I've learned to do in relationships that isn't healthy. And it started with, like, one night I feel like I was mad at him. And I was like, don't come over. And he didn't come over. And I got on the phone with him. I was like, you didn't come over? Like, what is wrong with you? And he was like, Jen, I respect people. And when you say don't do something, I don't do it. And I was like, no, but like when I say I don't want you to come over,
I do want you to come over.
Yeah. And I had to check myself and be like, okay, this is a guy who is not jaded. And you need to like not play these games with him.
Yep.
So it was like a learn in real time experience.
Why do you think it was before meeting him that you really couldn't get past like second dates?
I think I would go on these dates and I'd be so nervous and I wouldn't be myself. I'm really good at like changing who I am to be more like the person. It's like that's how I'm a bridesmaid for hire. Like I'm really good at not being myself. So I'd go on these dates. I would be like really nervous and awkward. And I think I was never giving off a vibe that I liked the person. Like that was the main feedback people have given me in life is like, I can't tell how you feel about me.
That's so funny because whenever I talk to you, I'm like, Jen makes me feel so good and like so appreciated.
That's so nice. But like, I just feel like people can't get a read on me. I'm not the most warmest person. Like I try to be, but I don't think naturally I am. So I have a friend right now. She's in her upper 40s and she's trying to date. And she went on a couple dates with a guy and she's like, how do I show him I like him? And I'm like, well, I don't really know. But I think they say like touch is good, you know? And I think back then I really didn't know how to show I liked a person.
Yeah. And I didn't know how to show that I didn't like a person.
What do you mean?
Like I didn't know how to not show that I liked a person.
What did
like,
you do?
If I liked them, I mean, what didn't I do? I just like threw myself at people, not like physically, but like all I wanted to do was talk to them and spend time with them. And like, if they didn't text me back, I was literally like an anxious puddle. Like I just wanted to be wanted. Yeah. And so like when I liked someone, I like convinced myself that like I must have this person or else.
So did you do the same thing with Jake or did you play it?
That was different partially because he had said like he was so communicative of where he stood and what he wanted and allowed me to just like be myself, not be afraid to say how I felt and not be afraid to like be weird. You know, I was just like able to settle in so much easier. I also like there was so much growth that happened behind the scenes and like I became way more comfortable with who I was and I liked myself a lot more, which I hadn't in the past. Yeah. That was big for me.
I mean, it's obvious if you don't like yourself when you're dating. It's obvious because you're not yourself. And I think I was not myself because I was like, I was scared of dating. I was scared of myself. I feel like I had guys say like crazy things to me because I was an entrepreneur and like all these things that I was like so weird about. Like, how much do I share? How much do I pull back? Like, I was weird. But then when I started to not care anymore, it was like the not caring that brought out the best of me in a weird way. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it was like I dropped all other personas and I was like, I'm Jen. If you don't like me, well, I'm going to go to the next date tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
And that was good.
Also, being on a date with somebody who's genuinely interested in what you've built, in what you're doing. Yep. Like to build your own business from nothing and making it successful and having it be something you're passionate about, like, you want nothing more than for your person to like want to know everything about that and to cheer you on. And so it's amazing that he was so like that he like kind of looked you up before and like was curious.
It was cute. And I think like there's a difference between bragging and just speaking about who you are.
Yeah.
And I think women out there are scared of going on these dates and bragging and being like, I do this and this and this and this. But I think there's like a difference. And we shouldn't pull back. We shouldn't hide. But we also shouldn't brag. What is the difference? I don't know. Like, what do you think the difference is? It's hard.
I think it comes across just like you're doing something because you love it and you find meaning in it. Yeah. It's not, I have this many followers and I have these brand deals and like my business has worked with this person. It's like, yeah, like this is why I started this and this is the impact it's made. And like, just, I think it's in the way you talk about it too. With anybody, like if someone is doing something because they love it and they're passionate about it and it lights them up, like that is infectious and people will absolutely like feel that.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell when a person is like inflating what they're saying because they want the validation or they're saying it because they genuinely are like, this is what I do and I'm proud of it. Yeah. That was hard for me, I feel like, because I would just say nothing rather than say anything because I was scared I was going to come off as bragging or showing that I'm better than somebody. So I think that takes a lot of practice is to own who you are and show up with those words.
Yeah. Okay. Tell everybody about Bridesmaid for Hire.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I started Bridesmaid for Hire in 2014.
Insane.
I was in my early 20s and I was always a bridesmaid. Like I know you go to a ton of weddings. That was me. I was going to a ton of weddings for people I was hardly friends with. And it got to the point where like people I didn't even talk to anymore would ask me to be a bridesmaid. And when I was venting to my roommate at the time, she was like, Jen, it's because you're good at this. Like you're just a professional. And I was like, oh my God. So I posted an ad on Craigslist asking to be a bridesmaid for strangers. The ad took off, and 10 years later, I have worked hundreds of weddings for people all over the world. I still do this. And yeah, I'm a hired bridesmaid for strangers.
Why do people hire you?
You know, I think we don't realize how lucky we are to have friends. I know in my 20s, I lost a lot of my college friends. I grew apart from them. And there was like a time in my 20s when I didn't really have a lot of friends. People are like that. Not everyone has a close group of friends. So a lot of people hire me because they don't have a support system. They don't have any friends. And when you get married, it's a very interesting time in your life. It's stressful. There's a lot going on. And sometimes you want that good friend to support you, even if they don't know you. So a lot of people hire me because they don't have friends. But there's a group of people who hire me because they already have bridesmaids. But those people are a disaster. They're going to sabotage the wedding. They're not going to show up on time. So they want me to come in as like the undercover secret bridesmaid to just pull everything together.
When you're in that position, is there a backstory? Like, what do the other bridesmaids think? Because if they're friends with the bride and then suddenly like, here's Jen, like who is she?
No, for real. It's so awkward because like most of the time the bride doesn't tell anybody that I'm hired, not even her fiance.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Whoa, what do you think of that?
I think it's okay because I think they are hiring me to fill this gap in their life that they're not ready to come forward about, this loneliness gap. It's scary. So I think it's okay. Like everyone's like, what you do is so bad. You help them start their marriage on a lie. And I'm like, I don't really think it's a lie.
I don't think it's a lie. I don't think that. But then I'm like, is this something that's going to be like hanging over the bride's head of like, one day I have to confess this thing?
I do think that, right? Like, I think like the long term, they're like, okay, what did I do? But I do think they're like, okay, it's not a lie. They're just paying for a service that doesn't seem natural.
Right.
Like you pay for a wedding planner, you pay for a florist, you pay for a friend.
Right.
Like it sounds crazy, but like it's a service.
Yeah.
So they do the service. So I have a fake name and backstory. And yeah, when I walk into a bridal suite with 5 other girls and they're like, who are you? It is awkward. They're not like so receptive to me, but it's a job and I have to be there for 8 hours and never see them again. So I just take the heat and I try to do it best I can. But they don't know that I'm hired. They just think I'm this aloof friend who never shows up,
right? Who
like kind of knows the bride well. They have no idea.
So funny. Have you ever had like conflict with any of the other bridesmaids?
Oh my God, yes. I've had just bridesmaids be annoyed that the bride is seemingly favoring me because, like, I'll talk to the bride a lot. I obviously know what to do in a bridal party, so I'll step up to the plate and I'll be ahead of the game. So a lot of the other bridesmaids are like, who is she? And why is the bride being so nice to her? And, like, why is she, like, acing this bridesmaid role? So they're not thrilled with me. I've had bridesmaids, like, try to be mean to me, try to like hide my dress, like try to do things to like just things you would do as a jealous friend, right? And like I'm there because these people are clearly kind of unfit,
right?
So, like,
and the bride knows that,
right? So like they're not going to be like so happy to see me.
That's so funny. Oh my God. Okay, when I like think you have the coolest, most fascinating job in the world. Like I could talk about this for a year and not run out of questions. When someone, decides to hire you, are you also helping them like leading up to it? Like, are they texting you when they need to vent about something or when there's a problem with the tables or the guest list or the mother-in-law or something?
Oh, yeah. I think what people don't realize is like going to the wedding is the smallest part of the job.
Yeah.
It's everything else. Like I will go on bachelorette parties. I'll go to engagement parties, bridal showers. I am there. If we're in the same city, I'll see the bride quite often. If we're not, we talk on the phone all the time. We text all the time. We build a genuine friendship. Now, is it a friendship that's going to last beyond the wedding? Most likely not. But like there is a genuineness to the friendship or else this won't work. Yeah. If it's awkward, if we can't vibe, like it's just not going to work. So yeah, we do build a friendship just like you would with a person you met on the street.
Wait, you go on bachelorette parties?
Yes, sober, because I don't drink on the job. Just like most people don't drink on their job, I won't drink on the job.
Do you pretend to drink?
I pretend to drink.
Oh my God, I'm freaking out. This is crazy.
I am so good at like, and even now I don't really like to drink. So when I go out, I'm really good at like taking fake shots and like drinking fake drinks.
Are you ever sharing a room?
I have had to share a room before with people. I've had to like sleep in the same room as the bride. Yes.
What do you talk about?
I mean, something weird about me is like I genuinely like people that I don't really know. I feel like you can learn so much about people you don't know. So I thrive in those situations because I'm also like there's an expiration date. I'm never going to see you again after this time. So it's kind of nice to like understand people, observe people. It is weird that everyone else is drunk and you're like the sober person, but like you see people in a different light.
Do you come up with different like backstories for yourself? Like if they ask what you do, are you just like, I'm an accountant?
Yeah, no, literally what's like the most boring job you can think of? I'm like, I do Excel spreadsheets for people. I make up a full backstory and the bride and I will figure that out based on like who's there and who will not know who I am. So if I'm a friend from high school, nobody else there can be from high school. So we'll figure this out beforehand. I'll research things. I'm so boring. I have no social media, so you can't find me. And I just play this part.
But you do have social media, but you do go by a different name.
So like, if they're like, okay, your name's Jessica Klein, and they're like, let me follow you on Instagram. I'm like, oh man, I just gave it up for Lent. Like, I don't have it anymore. This Jewish girl, I'm like, what's Lent? But like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no, I just don't do social media anymore. But like, here's my number or something else. And like, people understand it's not that weird because you're not thinking like, that girl's hired. You're not thinking that.
Has anyone ever recognized you because of what you do?
Sometimes people will come up to me and they'll be like, you look so familiar. And I'm like, you do too.
Yeah.
Like, is it summer camp? Is it this? I've never had someone be like, I saw you on TikTok. And I think it's because like, I'm not like that unique looking. I feel like I can blend in. And if you're at a wedding, you have your hair done, your makeup done, you look a little different. No one's really looking at the bridesmaids. Like, you kind of just blend in. I have been caught a couple times where like the bride told somebody else. So like she told them and I didn't know that. But I've never been like called out.
Okay. Impressive.
Yeah.
Tell me about crazy or really emotional scenarios you've encountered on wedding day or before where the bride is unsure or there's a lot of anxiety in the mix. Like, how has that unfolded for you?
You know, before I started this business, I thought cold feet or backing out of weddings was just a movie thing. Like, I didn't think it happened in real life. After working this business for 10 years, I can tell you that it happens more often than not. And what honestly happens, I call it like the diving board effect, is like you're living your life, nothing's catching up with you. And then right before you walk down the aisle or right before you're bouncing on the diving board to jump into the pool, everything hits. And all of a sudden you realize, what am I about to do? This isn't right. And oftentimes that happens weeks before the wedding or on the wedding, is like you just realize like this is not right because you haven't stopped to process. You got engaged and you were like, okay, well, that's exciting. And you planned a wedding. You're like, well, that's exciting. And then you're at the wedding and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm about to do. I see this so often. Why do I see this often? Because people are not going to tell their friends and family they're not sure, but they're going to tell the stranger. I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to see them again. I don't care. So I've had so many people confess to me, like, I don't think this is right, or I don't know this is right. I've even had people tell me, like, as they're about to walk down the aisle, that this is going to suck to have to do again because they know that it's wrong. I have been at weddings where they've tried to call it off. One of the first times this happened was a New Year's Eve wedding, and the bride was hysterically crying before walking down the aisle because she did not want to do this. And she's like, literally, I felt like her nails were like in my skin, like, please don't make me do this. And I was like, girl, we don't have to. But her mom like pretty much like shoved her down the aisle. And that was like one of those jarring experiences of like, people feel this way, but they don't have anyone else to turn to because like your family and friends don't want you to be embarrassed. They don't want you to call it off. But I once had someone in Staten Island, 5 minutes before the ceremony, she grabs me, she puts me in a room, she locks the door, and she's like, Jen, I hate the groom. I don't want to do this.
I need popcorn.
I know. I'm like sweating, just like
freaking out.
And it was because she had seen like his ex-girlfriend had like come. She like saw her walk into the wedding. Obviously she wasn't invited. And she's like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'll call us an Uber. We'll leave. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to push you to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah, you have no skin in the game.
No, I'm your unbiased friend.
Yeah.
But I can't sleep at night unless you tell the groom that we're leaving. Because, like, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I put him in the room. I locked the door. And basically, they had hashed it out. And they were like, we don't want to get married. We don't want to do this. But we're going to go through the ceremony and just fake it. So a lot of people don't realize that, like, to get married, you sign a legal document. Mm-hmm. Who sees you sign that legal document? Very few people. Right. Unless you're like Jewish and you do the whole ketubah signing and marriage license signing. But like most people sign their wedding license with like a friend or two as the witness.
You also have to mail it in.
Which most people, not most people, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't sign it. There's a lot of people who go through with the wedding that they're not actually legally married, but you wouldn't know that. A lot of celebrities do this and a lot of people do this because how would you know? Wow. Like, you don't know.
But what's the benefit to that unless you're not sure?
You don't want to be legally binded to the person. Maybe they have a lot of debt. Maybe they have financial issues. Maybe you just don't want marriage at its core is kind of depressing.
Like it's a business agreement.
It's a business agreement. Like maybe you didn't want to sign a prenup, so you just don't sign a wedding license.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of reasons. Like, I bet you, I'm going to go out there and say that 40% of people that you think are married are not.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You wouldn't, but like, how would you know?
Right.
You wouldn't know.
Wow. Okay. What has been the most memorable wedding you've worked?
When I first started, I had a gay couple from Australia, and at this time, gay marriage was illegal in Australia. So they came to New York, and they wanted to get married in Times Square. And I was like, okay, sounds good. But like, I'm not talking like the W Hotel in Times Square. I'm talking like
next to the Naked Cowboy.
Yes. And I was like, okay, let's go.
Who needs a wedding band when you have the Naked Cowboy?
Right. I was like, this is
and Elmo and Spider-Man.
And like the Minnie Mouses. I'm like, this is perfect. But it was really interesting because they couldn't prove their identity to me. They wouldn't Skype. This was back when we had Skype. They wouldn't Skype me. They didn't have social media. So I didn't actually know like who I was meeting or if this was real. And I just remember like meeting them in Times Square. I got off the subway. There was like policemen standing. I stood with the NYPD. I'm like, okay, if these guys come up after me, at least I'm with the police. They turned out to be like real people. And they really got married in the middle of Times Square. We did the ceremony. I was their only bridesmaid. And afterward, we celebrated. And it was just such a beautiful, cool, fun experience. I still keep in touch with them. I went to Australia. I saw them.
Oh, my God.
And, like, that's like a lot of what I do is dramatic and there's a lot of horror stories, but then you have these like gems and you're like, this is what I do it for.
Yeah. Wow. Why did they hire you?
I think they wanted to have a bridesmaid and they wanted someone to like get the party started and like be in their pictures and make them feel like it was a real wedding.
Yeah.
And they wanted just that person there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was beautiful and magical. And I bonded with them. And like, again, I'm like never going to see them again, maybe once or twice in my life. But in that moment, I felt like I'd known them forever.
What have you learned about relationships and love and commitment from working with all of these brides and couples?
I think one of the biggest things that was hard to accept is that love looks so different between people. Like one of the biggest questions I get asked is like, can you tell if a person's gonna make it? And it's like, no, because what they view as love between them is so different than what I view as love between Adam and I. So no, you don't. And I think love looks so different in every relationship. There's some couples who I'm like, they're not gonna make it a year and they've made it 10 years. And why is that? It's because their relationship works for them.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to judge other people's relationships from the outside or even when you're kind of in the inside. I also got freaked out about marriage because I had seen so many people back out or wanting to back out that when Adam and I got close to the point of getting engaged, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. Like, I don't want to get married because I'm so scared of showing up on my own wedding day and thinking like this is wrong. And I was really freaked out about that. And he was like, I don't understand. Like, you've always wanted to get married and engaged, and now you're like not wanting to. And I was like, I just don't know what I want because I've seen hundreds of other people do so many different things. So that was really hard, was accepting like that I was ready for this and I shouldn't be scared just because I've seen things fall apart.
Yeah. I kind of relate to that on a very, very different level. But when I worked in the music industry and I was so miserable at work, and I started to hate music because when I would listen, like a new song would come out and I would just think of like all the people who were miserable at their desks, like making minimum wage and like having, like I would literally like would have to like stand outside the conference room waiting for a meeting to end to see if there was half a sandwich left.
Crazy.
Like because I was making no money.
Yeah.
And I was just like a new song would come out and I would just think of all the people in that position.
No, it makes
who were, like
you view
killing
it
themselves
different.
over this job.
Yeah.
And I like couldn't listen to music anymore because it made me so sad.
Yeah. Well, that's why like I didn't want a wedding and we didn't end up having a wedding because I was like, I've just seen everything.
Yeah.
And there's things that make people happy, but like nothing feels like it's going to make me happy because I've just seen too much.
Right. You've seen the biggest, glitziest, most expensive weddings. You've seen the middle of Times Square, no budget weddings. You've seen it all. So what did the day you got married, not your wedding day, but the day you got married, what did that look like?
So we got engaged in 2019. We sent out save the dates March 2020, like March 1st, 2020. So like COVID was like
sick.
COVID was like not really like a thing.
Super fun.
Yeah. And then our wedding was supposed to be in 2020. We sent out cancellations in May. We were like, no. And then 2021 happened and I was like, I don't want a wedding. I don't want a party. I don't want any of this. I want to get married to this person and never talk about it again. Because this is my world and I don't want to personally be in this world, meaning I don't want to have my own wedding stuff when I do this for work. Yeah. So
was he okay with that?
I think he always wanted a big party. But I think the reason why he was okay with it was because COVID was still a thing in 2021 and we were just so sick of like, should we plan? Should we not plan? So because it was such an awkward time, he was like, okay. So we met on March 19th outside of the coffee shop and March 19th was approaching. We had 2 weeks away and I said, let's get married March 19th at the coffee shop. And our parents were like, absolutely not, because they were not going to be able to be there. And nobody was going to be there. And I was like, this is what we were doing. I don't care who we piss off. I want to marry you outside this coffee shop. Not even inside because COVID, they wouldn't let us inside because of COVID. So we had 2 weeks to throw this together. We had a couple friends there. Everyone watched on Zoom. I never wanted a wedding dress. I like to wear sequins. So I bought a gold sequin suit. His brother officiated it. There was random New Yorkers like watching the ceremony. They're in our photos. Like there's a picture of us saying I do with like random New Yorkers. It was perfect. It was like the strangers coming to our wedding. Perfect. And we said our vows and we got married. We drank our coffee and we got married like the exact time that we had met on March 19th, but 5 years later.
I have goosebumps.
And it was just full circle. It was perfect. I wouldn't have wanted anything else. I didn't know that that's what I wanted, though.
Yeah.
It took COVID and it took a lot of stress to figure that out.
Yeah, that is crazy. And it's cool that you made it your own.
Yeah.
And so unique to you two and your journey. Like, that is so special.
I just feel like if you don't know what you want, don't listen to what anyone else wants for you, because then you go down a whole weird path. If you don't know what you want, pause and figure it out, even if it looks so bizarre and so different than what everyone else does.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I have a few listener questions. I pulled these weeks ago because we were supposed to record weeks ago. My bad on that. So I have no idea what they say now, but let's see. Okay. I need some advice because I'm losing my mind planning my wedding, and I know you also went through the wedding planning stress at me. My fiance and I have been arguing nonstop about the guest list, how much money to spend, and who should be invited. It's honestly getting to the point where it's not fun anymore, and I'm starting to feel like maybe this wedding is causing more stress than it's worth. I really wanted to enjoy the process, but I'm not sure how to keep things from spiraling and making it feel like we're fighting about everything. Any tips for keeping the relationship strong while planning a wedding?
I really think for a lot of couples, wedding planning is like the first biggest test of your relationship, because you're suddenly coming together and like operating a business. Like you're both like co-CEOs of a business now with like a budget and like all these things that make life so unromantic.
Yeah.
So in this situation, I would say find one thing to agree on. Like right now, find one thing to agree on and build up from there. Because if you're butting heads about everything, what's the one thing you can agree on? And then from there, take baby steps toward everything else. Honestly, if you start to feel like everything's just not, you're clashing, maybe don't plan the wedding. Maybe elope. Maybe do something completely different, because there's some type of underlying tension there that's like causing you guys to just not see eye to eye.
Yeah. It's really crazy being thrown into the wedding planning process. Like
bizarre.
The way I describe it is you got moved to a new team at your company. You're filling in for someone who, you know, had to urgently leave. You have no experience in this on this team. You've never done this before.
No.
And your coworkers are the people you would never want to do something like
Totally.
like work with, aka both of your families.
Crazy.
And you're working with a budget you've never worked with before. You've never planned an event before, and you also have to handle everyone's emotions.
Yeah. No, it's like actually insane. And then you have to like still find love for everybody at the end of the process. Like, it is wild. The weddings are wild in general, because it's like the one time in your living life when everybody you know and love is in the same room. Like, that's also kind of crazy, you know? I really think like if it's causing you stress, don't do it.
Yeah. I would say, I'm looking at the question, the guest list, how much money to spend, and who should be invited. I think each of you in this situation should pick like the one thing that's the most important to you also.
Yeah.
Because maybe like the most important thing to you is having a small wedding, and the most important thing to your partner is having a band, not a DJ. Like, okay, then give them the band and give you like the smaller wedding.
Yeah.
And maybe it's having a smaller, more intimate like wedding day party, and then like inviting all of your friends to a bar or a park a few weeks later to have like a bigger celebration that's like more low key. And then the stress of like, we did the wedding, we're married now, we get to just like celebrate with people casually. Like that could be a way to do it too. You can make things up.
No, totally. I love the idea of like, okay, what are the things I care about more than what do you care about? Like even now when Adam and I fight about like parenting stuff, we have a rule that it's like, okay, who cares more about this one situation? And if it's whoever cares more wins. So if we're fighting about like, okay, you know, she can't keep eating like potato chips for every single meal, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're fighting about it, and he really cares more about the diet stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let you win because you care more about this.
Right.
But there's definitely something I care about more that we're going to fight about that I win. So it's like, if that person really cares more about like having this at the wedding, just let them have it.
Right. Because at the end of the day, neither of you are right or wrong.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. All right. Next one says, okay, so I've been dating this guy for about a year now, and I really like him, but I'm starting to have some doubts. We've been through a lot together already, and I know I care about him, but I'm wondering if we're just comfortable with each other or if we're actually meant to go to the distance. How do I tell if my doubts are just normal relationship fears or if something bigger is off? Also, how do you know when you're ready to take the next step, like moving in together or getting engaged?
This is really tough. Because first of all, I feel so bad that you feel this way because everyone paints this picture of like, when you know, you know. And sometimes that happens. But sometimes like you do have question marks. And I feel like if people are honest, I know that definitely throughout my relationship, I questioned. Of course you question, like, is this the right person? How is this going to be? So I think it's normal to have doubts. I think you almost need to put the relationship in motion with a next step to see almost how you feel. So maybe it's not moving in together, but maybe it's okay. I'm going to see what it would be like to live together. I'm going to stay with you for 3 weeks and like see how I feel. Are the doubts still there? Did they calm down? Because there's a difference between doubt and just being scared of the next step. And the fear can come from a lot of other things that don't relate to the relationship. Yeah. So I would say almost test your relationship a little bit to see if you are ready for those next steps so that you can see how you're feeling.
Yeah. I also think maybe you need more time. Like maybe you feel this rush and this pressure to move in together, but you don't feel ready. And that's why you're starting to second guess.
Totally.
I also think there's something to be said about like, there's no perfect person out there.
No.
But think about, instead of like, is this the perfect person for me? Like, is this the one? Think about, is this somebody that I can see myself building a life with? Is this somebody that I want to be there with me for the biggest celebrations and like the hardest days?
Yep.
It's about, finding somebody who you like spending time with, who you feel safe with, who you feel like you can lean on and rely on. It's not about finding the one person out of however many billion people on the planet who is the exact one for you. It's about finding someone you want to build a life with.
And that's why I would really say, like, what is the doubt about? Is the doubt about the way the person treats you? Is the doubt about the way you communicate? Or is the doubt about just being scared about taking steps in life? Like, where is the doubt coming from? I think it's hard when we just put these like adjectives on our feelings because they don't actually tell us what they mean. Yeah. So like, don't use the word doubt. Get more specific. And as you get more specific, you'll be like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand what I'm actually feeling.
Right. I'm afraid.
Yes.
I'm afraid of. What are you afraid of?
Or is the person not changing? Like, you're asking the person to treat you a different way and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's big. Especially because like your relationship will go through so many tests together.
Absolutely. Also, you can move in together and move out. You can get engaged and break off the engagement. You can get married and get divorced.
Yes.
Like, nothing is permanent unless you want it to be. Mm-hmm. So you're allowed to take the next step and change your mind. Like, dating and being in a relationship is, continuing to be together until one of you decides this isn't right.
And I think that's okay. Like, I love to believe in the idea of forever, but I'm realistic enough to know that like forever just might not happen for so many reasons, and that's okay. So yeah, I think like we should take a lot of the pressure off of like the right, and what is actually like going really well for you now that could be forever. It's like you don't always have friends from every part of your life because you grow apart, and you hope your relationship won't do that, but it could.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
Exactly. Okay, let's do one more. So I'm feeling a little bit down lately because I'm the only single one in my friend group, and it's honestly starting to take a toll. All of my friends are engaged, married, or having babies, and I'm just still trying to figure things out. It's not that I'm not happy for them, but it's tough when I'm in a totally different place in my life. On top of that, I'm constantly shelling out money for bridal showers, weddings, and bachelorette parties, and it's becoming a real financial burden. I love my friends, but I'm starting to feel like I'm stuck in a cycle of supporting everyone else's milestones while mine are on hold. How do I manage feeling like the odd one out, especially when the costs are adding up, and how do I make peace with being in a different place?
I love this because I lived this. Mm-hmm. I lived this so hard because all my friends were married and I was living in New York, starting a book, writing all these, like starting a business, like doing all these other things. And I felt invisible and I felt judged. And I would say 2 things for you is, number 1, start talking up what's going on in your life that's not about dating. And if people are asking you like, how's dating going? You can be like, it's going, but here's all the other things I'm also doing. Because I feel like sometimes your friends don't know what to ask you about. They don't know what's going on in your life. So start being more forward with your friends and see how they react. If they don't care, they can't relate, then maybe those friendships are alive and well, but it's time for you to start making other friendships too. So I think like, number 1, try to talk to your friends about other things going on in your life and see how they react, because all the things going on in your life are just as important as marriage.
Absolutely.
Even sometimes more important. Like getting a raise is really freaking hard. Getting married is hard too, all that. But like
writing a book, building a business, finding your dream apartment.
Start talking about that stuff and
planning
see how they act.
Your first solo trip.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like even running a 5K is so hard to do. Like so hard. Talk about that. Let them know about that and see how they react. Also, start making other friends with people who are going through what you're going through in life because it makes you feel so much better.
When you were going through it, you said you felt like you were judged.
Yeah.
Were you actually judged or were you just judging yourself?
I remember a lot of those friends would say things like, it's great that you're like focusing on your career, but like, when are you going to settle down? And like,
oh my God.
Yeah, they would say comments like that. And we were like 24.
Okay.
But I was the only one who had left the hometown. They were all in the hometown. They all married their college sweethearts. So they didn't understand my life.
Right. That wasn't the life you wanted to live.
No. And it also wasn't the life of anybody I knew in New York.
Yeah.
So I had to check myself and be like, okay, they don't get what I'm going through. And I don't really get what they're going through. I don't understand what it's like to be married and start to have kids. These friendships are great. I have love for them. I need to expand my friendships.
Yeah.
I need to find people who are also doing what I'm doing, or they're not as judgmental about what I'm doing. And while those friendships ultimately didn't end up continuing on, I have made so many other amazing friends in my life because I was willing to put myself out there and not feel judged by these people.
Yeah. I want to add with the financial burden part.
Oh, God.
You can say no.
Yeah, please say no.
Say you don't have to go on every bachelorette. You don't have to go to every bridal shower.
No.
You can say no. I think the biggest thing with bachelorette parties, we're so afraid to disappoint a friend.
Yeah.
But if they're a real friend, they don't want you breaking your bank and feeling so financially unstable to go celebrate them for 3 days. And I think you just have to lead with honesty and say, I love you and I wish I could make it work. I can't right now, but either before you go or when you come back, I'm going to take you out to dinner. We're going to do a little spa day. We're going to, have an us day. And I want to celebrate you, just the two of us, in our own way.
And I think that's so sweet. And anyone who is a good friend would look at that and go, I feel you. Because I was in a similar position, right? Like a lot of us are going to 5 bachelorette parties. So like, yeah, I think it's like be accepting of what other people are going through.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like the bride might not realize that you have 3 other bachelorette parties to go to, and that's all adding up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should absolutely say no. You should not ever go to every single event.
No.
Like those should be, every event that a person has for their wedding is like semi-optional. Like you don't have to go to everything, and you shouldn't if you can't.
Yeah. And also I know like with going to weddings and being single, if all of your friends are in a relationship, sometimes that means getting your own hotel room.
Oh my God.
Having to figure out transportation and everything on your own. I would look around and see, like, do I have a really close friend where, like, them and their partner, like, wouldn't mind if I slept on the sofa bed in their hotel room? Or, maybe it's not a flight away, it's a drive away. Could you drive to the wedding, not drink, and drive home? Or even look into, like, getting a car service or Ubering back and forth. That could be cheaper than the hotel. Like, there are ways to save.
Can I just tell you that I got to a point in my 20s where they would be like, okay, all the single girls come on the dance floor to catch the bouquet, and I was the only one. Yes.
I think bouquet tosses are crazy for that reason. Like, what? Why are you? What?
So, like, was I being judged? Yes, because everyone was like, why is this one person single in this whole room? Like, yes. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Those things should absolutely stop.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
just horrible.
100%. Oh, this is my favorite topic. I could talk about it for so long. But, Jen, you answered this question 4 years ago. I'm going to ask it to you again. What is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received or have to give?
I would say that when you are going on your first couple of dates, rather than feel like you have to put on a show, come to the table and truly be yourself. And I know this is going to sound like kind of serial killer-ish, but like I would practice my answers to the most common questions that you're going to get asked on a date. What do you do for fun? Like, but what does anyone do for fun? So like come to the table with like really solid, genuine answers, because then you've shown up as yourself and you've shown up with enough information that they know how to ask you questions back and forth. So like understand what the 5 most common questions are you're going to get asked on a date. Plan what you're going to say so that it's genuine and authentic. And then when you get to the date, you just be yourself and you answer these questions. And I think you'll come off really strong. Mm-hmm. Whereas like sometimes you're so caught off guard. You're like, what do I do for fun? Like, I don't know. And then then the dates like gets kind of weird because you're like, I don't know, like eat food. So like, I think like come prepared, but also be yourself.
Right. Like instead of like eat food, it's like, I actually am obsessed with sushi, and
Yes.
I have been trying to find the best spicy tuna roll in the city.
Specific details make you so interesting and
Yeah.
memorable. So if you can know, okay, like they're going to ask me like what my favorite book is maybe, and like bring that to the table.
Yeah.
Like, and how is that your favorite book? Like give them things so that the conversation flows. My other big mistake in life is that I'm a question asker to the point of like, it's annoying. So if you're like that, like pause a little bit and let them ask you questions sometimes.
Make sure you come in, with things about yourself that you want the other person to know about you.
Totally. Like you got to kind of treat this like it is a strategy in a way.
Yeah.
Because the point is for them to get to know you. That's what a date is.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this has been so fun. Where can everybody find you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, you can find me bridesmaidforhire.com, on social media at bridesmaidforhire, and then the new podcast is 1-800-Bridesmaid, and it's also a newsletter, and Alana is on an episode coming out soon, so check it out.
It's so good.
Thank
It's
you.
so good. Again, I'm like it's so fun watching your journey,
Aw.
watching your life unfold. Like it's so beautiful, and I am cheering you on every day.
Okay, I can't see you in 4 years. I have to see you before 4 more years, okay?
Obviously.
Okay,
And thank you, Barkley, for being a
Yes,
good little
the
cuddly
sweetest
boy. He was a little
angel.
menace before.
Yes,
And then he just wanted
sweet.
belly rubs during the recording.
Aw.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye. Oh,